Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. We were doing the 39th verse yesterday, where Krishna tells Arjuna how this covering that covers the Viveka is illustrated. The covering illustrated in this verse is binding desire and its modifications. The next verse reveals what is covered. Discriminative knowledge, Viveka, is covered. So the previous verse was Dhumena vriyate vannihi yatha darsho malena cha yathol vrito garpah tatha te nedam avritam. So just as fire is covered by clouds of smoke, just as mirror is covered by dust, and just as a fetus is covered by the womb, so too knowledge is covered by desire. So we saw how in different degrees of effort is required to take care of this desire, to handle the desire. One is simple vichara with the will, and vichara, will, and as well as kala, time. So then what is covered? It is discriminative knowledge. Viveka is covered. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha. Knowledge is covered by this, O Arjuna. The insatiable fire of desire, the constant enemy of the wise. We saw this also yesterday, but I'll just repeat it once. This word idam, used in the preceding verse, refers to knowledge, jnana. Here, this knowledge is said to be covered by the enemy in the form of karma, kama rupena, just as the fire, mirror, and fetus are covered by the smoke, dust, and womb, respectively. And by what kind of karma is the knowledge covered? By the karmas that are difficult to fulfill, dushpurena, and impossible to satiate, analena. Anala means fire. So as long as karmas are binding in nature, they cover no, they cover knowledge, they cover viveka. Fire is never satiated. The more fuel you offer it, the more it wants. All its tongues are out demanding more. Therefore, fire is called anala. Like fire, desire also has no satiability. It is also, so it is referred to here as anala. There is no such thing as fulfilling all your desires so that after retirement, there will be none remaining. That is what we fool ourselves. We say only after this I'll have no more desires. But that never happens. There is no such thing as a last desire, the last dregs of all one's desires. At no time can you say that you have only 5 remaining desires, and that if you just fulfill these 5, everything will be perfect because you will be Purna, limitless. All desires flow from our sense of limitation. So, till as long as the sense of limitation persists, desires will continue. Except when a person becomes a sthita prajna, not becomes, as when a person realizes he is nothing but Brahman. So, in that state of sthita prajna, just like prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanye vatmanatushta sthita prajnas tadochit. The first definition of sthita prajna that Krishna gives Arjuna is as and when these desires emanate in the mind, he just vanquishes them. Rajahati yadaka sarvan partha manogata. Then why? How? Atmanyev atmanatushta. He is able to be happy with himself by himself. He does not need any external factor to complete him. He is complete in himself. Whereas all other desires they flow because of one sense of limitation. Every desire is an expression of this sense of limitation, apurnatva. This sense is like a perpetual spring from which all desires flow. New desires will keep flowing to the surface. Even if you have no particular desire at a given point in time, the buddhi will say, you are not even capable of desiring. So, in the face of this new condemnation, you will again feel limited and desire to be free of the limitation. The adjective nitya vairina, meaning by the permanent enemy, indicates that karma is permanent. Shankara provides an excellent commentary on the word nitya vairi. Knowledge can be covered by desire. Even for one who is mature and knows what is to be done and not to be done. This desire is difficult to fulfill and is both insatiable and inimical to those who are discriminative. And why is this enemy described as permanent? Shankara goes on to say that even before the desire comes, the person is a karya akarya viveki, knows what is to be done and not to be done. But this knowing what is proper and improper does not mean that the person will act accordingly. Even the discriminative person, knowing a particular desire is not good for him or her, may still try to fulfill it because the desire can be more powerful than the wisdom of discrimination. Because the person knows both before and after that a given desire is not for one's well being, desire is referred to as a permanent enemy, Nitya Vairi of the discriminative people. So even before acting upon the desire, he knows a discriminative person. So desire is permanent and it is a permanent Nitya Vairina. It's a permanent enemy. So it is there before the act of fulfilling the desire. And of course, after the act of fulfilling the desire as well. Even the discriminative person, because the person knows before and after that it is not good for one's well being. So, one who is not discriminating knows only later that the binding desire is useless. So, for the discriminative person, he knows before and after. But because of the strength and the force of the karma, he goes on to act upon it, to fulfill it. And then there is the regret. Whereas a non discriminative person does not know in the beginning. He starts off fulfilling it, but only at the end he realizes that this binding desire is useless. Whereas at the time of desiring, the person thinks that to act on this particular desire will be wonderful. It seems to be the right thing to do. For example, a person who wants to make a killing on the stock market may say, I have a new scheme and I'm going to make it work. In 1 month's time, you will see how great my plan is. But after the time has passed, all there is to see is that the person is broke. I should have thought it over, the person will say. I never thought of the possibilities of loss. Only later is there the discovery that the desire was costly, anartha, and also that it was the cause of the person's subsequent problems because he is left broke. If I had not been greedy, I would not have become involved in this mess. So, this person who is non discriminating, the karma is not, it becomes an enemy only in the end. Whereas for a discriminative person, it is a nitya vairina, nitya vairi. So, Shankara says that karma is nitya vairi for the discriminative because it is a consistent enemy. Before and after acting, they know that the desire will not benefit them in any way. So, how does the Sthita Prajna behave with respect to karma? Remember that Kurmongani va sarvashaha. Just like how a turtle withdraws its limbs in the face of danger, a Sthita Prajna withdraws his senses when he encounters sense objects. So he uses his discrimination and refrains from acting upon that desire. But here, the discriminative person is one who knows, who has this viveka, but he is still overpowered by the desire. Before and after acting, they know that the desire will not benefit them in any way. Whereas for the non discriminating, karma appears to be an enemy only after they have acted. The action not producing the benefits they had expected. Arjuna wanted to know who or what impelled people to perform improper actions. And because Arjuna also wanted to know how to be free of that which impelled improper action, Krishna told him how to deal with this karma. So, do we have any sharing on this before we go on to the next?
Is this the one we did yesterday?
Yeah, we did this yesterday.
Mm.
I just went through one more time.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it's very clear, right? In terms of this heading is what the karma is
Karma is a permanent. All
all
desires
desires
are sense of limitation.
flow from our own sense of limitation, our sense of limitation. So, apurnatva is like opposite of purnatva, right? Like we are limited being, apurnatva, then the desire comes to make, thinking that we are going to fulfill this. And then the desire keep coming and coming, so there's no end to it. It's like like you said, the anala, because it's like a fire, feeding the fire, and the fire engulfs everything that comes into it. Like that, the desire, one desire done, the other desire comes up. So there's no end to it. So then coming to this, people who are discriminative, like having this karya viveki. Karya viveki is one who knows what can be done, what is to be done, what is not to be done, right? So those people who know, even though it's improper to do something, they, because of the desire, they still go ahead and do it, and then they what happens? They become that consistent enemy. Like this desire
Afterwards, also
becomes,
there is regret. So, oh,
yeah,
this should
yeah,
not have been done, but I still did it.
right. But the non-discriminating people, um, that this
In the
happens. So what happens then?
So for them, only in the end they realize. In the beginning, they think, oh, this is what is very nice. This is
Right,
going to make me happy.
mm,
And then
right,
they act on it.
right. So this is where Arjuna is asking what impels them to do, despite
Improper.
knowing this, yeah,
Correct. Correct.
the discrimination, but
Yeah.
and then how to, even if you do, the discriminative person does something like that, how you come out of this.
Mm.
But yesterday we read that was a different sloka, right?
That we read,
Karya Viveki, and then there was another with the
yeah,
time and with the.
correct.
Uh,
That was the for
uh,
38th shloka.
oh, okay, okay.
We'd
So
already done
that's why
that.
I remember those three things. Like I was
Right,
wondering, like,
right.
okay, okay.
That is,
Atma and Anatma Viveki.
that was धूमेनाव्रियते वह्निः यथा दर्शो मलेन च यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भः तथा तेनेदमावृतम्.
Mm.
So just as the fire is covered by clouds of smoke, and just
Oh,
as a
yeah, yeah.
finger is covered by dust,
Right, right.
and just as fetus is
The
covered with the womb,
covered with the,
so
yeah, the
how
knowledge
knowledge is
is
covered by desire. And how to get out of this? By using your simple vichara, or sometimes you need to use your will and say that emphatic no. And then sometimes you also need time.
Right.
Not enough if you just say no, you just need to wait.
Yeah.
And that waiting is what one more aspect to it is perspective is for a karma yogi. Why does one become a karma yogi? Because why is one given the lifestyle of a karma yogi is because of the ragas and dveshas. So we need to give time for all of that to get neutralized. It will not,
Right.
they'll not be neutralized in one, over time, overnight. You need to
That's
keep
right.
doing. That is why you keep acting. That's why Krishna goads Arjuna, don't be attached to inaction. Go out and act. Take up your bow and arrow and fight. That is your kshatriya. That is your duty. So
Yeah.
when you keep acting, you with time, all these raga dveshas will start getting neutralized with your attitude of being a karma yogi. So this Viveki that they're talking about, Krishna is talking about, is a person who's still not a Sthita Prajna. He's he's still he's only a sadhak, but he has this Viveka. Despite him having Viveka, this desire is a Nitya Vairi. It is a permanent enemy for him. And how do we handle this permanent enemy? Is what Krishna is going to talk of in the next verse.
Okay.
Indriyani mano buddhihi asyaadhishthanamuchyate etairvimohayatyesha jnanamavritya dehinam. Indriyani, senses, manaha, mind, buddhihi, intellect, asya, its, adhishtanam, location, uchyate is said. Eshaha, this, etaihi, with these, jnanam, wisdom, avritya, covering, dehinam, person, vimohayati, deludes. So, indriyani, manaha, buddhihi, asya adhishtanam uchyate, eshaha, etaihi, jnanam, avritya, dehinam, vimohayati. Such a beautiful language Sanskrit is. Its location is said to be the senses, mind, and intellect. With these, it, that is karma, deludes the person by covering his or her wisdom. See, in English, if you jumble up the words and put it up in a sentence, people will not understand. Whereas in Sanskrit, you can jumble up the words. All you need to do is just arrange them in a proper way. So poetically, it may not be in a in a way that one can understand directly. But when you shuffle them, it just brings in that beautiful meaning.
So the location.
Huh? I am not able to understand. What is it?
So I'm wondering its location, meaning the desire, the improper
Yeah,
action. Okay,
desire. It's
desire.
Eshaha. Eshaha means it. That it here is desire. Its location is said to be the senses, mind, and intellect. With these, it, that is karma, deludes the person by covering his or her wisdom. Krishna had told Arjuna that karma alone impels a person to perform actions he or she knows to be improper. A desire can be so powerful that the means employed to fulfill it is not even questioned by the person. Whenever a particular end is very important to you, you can always compromise the means because all desire is for an end only, not for the means. So I repeat this. Krishna had told Arjuna that karma alone impels a person to perform actions he or she knows to be improper. Because that was the question Arjuna started off with. He wanted to know, what is it that impels a person to perform an action that he knows to be improper? So what is it? Karma alone, Krishna is saying. A desire can be so powerful that the means employed to fulfill it is not even questioned by the person. Whenever a particular end is very important to you, you can always compromise the means because all desire is for an end only, not for the means. If you remember that example of in when we did yoga karma sukaushalam, that discretion in action is karma, is yoga,
Yeah,
is
the
when
neighbor, he's stealing the
one
money from the neighbor.
correct from his
Yeah,
neighbor, he wants to steal the neighbor's money.
yeah.
That is the end for him. The end is to be as rich as his neighbor, to rob and steal his money. So what is the means he adopts? He uses all his skill to form a underground tunnel. He works on that and then he makes the tunnel. So therefore the means is compromised there because his desire was only for the end. The end was to steal his neighbor's money. So therefore actions are usually only improper with reference to the means used for gaining a desired end. The end is very rarely wrong, whereas the means are often compromised because the end is so very important to the person. In some cases, both the means and the end are wrong. So, actions are usually only improper with reference to the means used for gaining a desired end. The end is very rarely wrong, whereas the means are often compromised because the end is so very important to the person. In some cases, both the means and the ends are wrong. So, in Duryodhana's case, both the means and the ends are wrong because he wanted to
Gain
illegally,
the kingdom. And,
yeah,
and there
acquire
were,
the,
yeah.
right?
And he went around all the wrong ways,
Correct.
yeah,
The
following
villain,
Saguni, and I mean, he fall for all the wrong. Uh, I mean, I don't know, it's the wrong people versus he tried to kill them
yeah,
yeah, all that.
Atatainaha. It is like
Yeah,
he tried to kill them by using fire,
yeah.
by,
What is that? Arak. What do you call that one? In Tamil, we call Arak Maligai, but uh,
the house of lack, that lack, no, that luck, you call it lakka in Telugu.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, like that. Yeah. Uh, then he, I mean,
set them into
he right
exile.
from the beginning, he didn't like them, right? And so he poisoned Bhima and throw him in the water, the
Mm.
ocean or a river, wherever, and then he wants to get them out of there. Don't want to give them the prince ship for to Dharma, and then he puts Panjali. He gets very jealous of seeing them. He won't give their land, supposed to whatever the right they have, but they gave some land. But even they worked and they brought it up, and now he wants all that money. So he goes and plays this game and get all their stuff. On top of it, he tried to humiliate Draupadi. Even at the end, after 13 years, they left. The Anyadavasa, he tried to get them again. He will chase every corner of the world. I mean, he won't let him live. That was really time and again. He seems like, even though he is a good person to all the other people except Pandavas, so that was not right.
Yeah. So the villain in all of this is not a force outside yourself, nor is it yourself. It is karma, desire. The self itself is harmless. In fact, it is clean, shuddha. Nor can the body do anything right or wrong. It is only a place, a location. So too, the mind and senses are not harmful. Karma alone is what creates the havoc. But karma is only inimical when it is binding in nature. Thus, with reference to various ends, karma is located in various places in terms of physical actions, perceptions, and experiences. Knowing where desire is located makes it possible to do something about it. I will read this para again. So, the villain in all of this is not a force outside yourself, which is what Krishna says that karma is something known to you. You know it, nor is it yourself. You are not the desire. It is karma, desire. The self itself is harmless. In fact, it is clean, shuddha. Self is purna, it is shuddha. Nor can the body do anything right or wrong. So, is it the body that is the enemy? No. It is only a place, a location. So too, the mind and senses are not harmful. They are only reporting. Senses are only reporting to the mind. Karma alone is what creates the havoc. And what is karma? It starts as a thought. But karma is only inimical when it is binding in nature. So is every karma difficult? Is every karma an enemy? Only if it is binding. The binding nature is what? And only if I get it, I will be happy. That is the binding aspect of karma. Because my happiness depends upon me fulfilling this desire. Karma alone is what creates the havoc. But karma is only inimical when it is binding in nature. That's with reference to various ends. Karma is located in various places in terms of physical actions, perceptions, and experiences. So this is a beautiful line that we can reflect upon. So, with reference to various ends, karma is located in various places in terms of physical action, perceptions, and experiences. Knowing where desire is located makes it possible to do something about it. This is similar to how the police deal with thieves and other criminals. Investigation agencies keep records on habitual thieves based on certain repetitive patterns of behavior. Some thieves enter only through windows, and others open doors in a certain way. Some thieves pick up only certain things and leave everything else untouched. Each thief knows the places in which he or she can operate safely, meaning with less chance of being caught. Thus, criminals tend to be habitual offenders in two ways: in the types of offenses they commit and how they commit them. All that is required to catch them is to discover their patterns, how they operate, where they spend their time, and so on. What a beautiful analogy. So we just need to discover the pattern, how they operate and where they spend their time. Atma is free of desire. Similarly, when the place that one's enemy, desire, operates from is known, karma is easy to manage and take care of. Where then is this karma located? It is not in the Satchit Ananda Atma, although Satchit Ananda Atma is in the karma. Without the Atma, there is no want, no desire, no condition of the mind whatsoever. Whatever the condition, pain or pleasure, Atma is there. But karma is not in the Atma. This concept and this understanding comes again and again, right? So, karma is not in the Atma, but Atma is in the karma. Without Atma, there is no karma. In a dead body, can a dead body desire anything? No. That scintillating life, that consciousness is necessary for this person to even desire. So therefore, Atma is there in the karma, but karma is not in the Atma. Atma is Purna. Atma is Satchit Ananda.
Hmm. Like from the previous paragraph, what did it say? I mean, I kind of lost it.
So this
Yeah,
one was,
yeah,
this one,
this is similar to how
it is
hmm,
that
the last.
karma.
Yeah, this is similar to how the police deal with the thieves.
You want me to repeat this one? Yeah.
Yeah, please, because we know the location, right?
Ha.
You said the physical action, perception, experiences, and then I didn't get this part about the thieves and all that. If you don't mind.
So the uh, Swamiji is explaining
Mm,
how to handle this, how to tackle the desire is when you know its patterns, where it operates, where it is located,
mm,
then you'll be able to, just like how thieves tend to have a pattern in how they operate.
mm,
Habitual offenders, thieves who are habitually stealing, they have a pattern about themselves. How they get in, how they break in, is it through the window or to the door? Or they have
I see.
ways and means, yeah,
The
of
habitual pattern. Okay, okay. So we
similar.
are, we ourselves, when we have this karma, we are also doing the same thing
We also
because of
tend to have some patterned behavior, isn't it?
behavior. Behavior and habits are constituting this problem. Mm. Okay, okay, got it. Sorry.
So, how do we? So, therefore, the next one is Atma is free of desire. Similarly, when the place that one's enemy desire operates from is known, karma is easy to manage and take care of. Where then is this karma located? It is not in the Satchidananda Atma, although Satchid Ananda Atma is in the karma. Without the Atma, there is no want, no desire, no condition of the mind whatsoever. Whatever the condition, pain or pleasure, Atma is there. But karma is not in the Atma. So if you look into the self, there is no want therein. It is always clean, Shuddha, untouched by anything, Achyuta, untouched. But without bringing about any material change in the object, the Atma joins everything. I will repeat this. So if you look into the self, there is no want therein. In the Atma per se, there is no want. It is always clean, untouched by anything. But without bringing about any material change in the object, the Atma joins everything. If the Atma itself had attributes, gunas, its joining with a thought would result in a mixture, a compound. A desire would therefore not be a discrete desire. It would be colored by Atma, which is not the case. I know I will read all of this. Let me just continue. Atma itself, not having any attributes, lends its existence, sat, and consciousness, chit, to anything obtaining in the mind. Therefore, Atma is said to be free from want, kama. I will read the next para and then we'll understand better. Okay. The body, mind, and senses also do not have wants as such, but the wants involve all these locations. Almost all the kamas, the wants, are with reference to sense objects. And without the senses, these objects are not known and therefore do not become objects of desire. Naturally, then, the senses become the basis, adhishtana, for the desires to arise in the mind. Therefore, the senses are said to be the adhishtana of kama. Through the senses, desires can also be fulfilled. Without the mind, manas, there is no want. Thus, mind is also the location, adhishtana for kama. The manas is the one that creates the fancies that are the beginning of kama. Because the decision with reference to the fulfillment of a want takes place in the buddhi, the intellect, the buddhi too, is said to be the adhishtana for desire. Thus, with reference to kama, the manas, the buddhi, and the senses are places of operation, as it were. When one's karma is very powerful, it robs away the person's very wisdom, jnana. It deludes the person. In terms of earlier acquired wisdom, the person is as though blindfolded by his or her desire and is taken for a ride. This ride can be a very long one also, because when you wake up, you find yourself elsewhere with all the damage already done. This is karma. So very beautifully explained where the karma is located. Karma is not located in the Atma, although Atma is in every karma.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
So the first paragraph we understood how karma is not in the Atma, but
The
it is Atma
Atma
is there
is in the karma. Mhm.
in the karma.
Mm.
Because without Atma, there is no karma.
Mm.
If you look into the self, there is no want therein. It is always clean, untouched by anything. But without bringing any material change in the object, the Atma joins everything. That isness is there, no? That is what the Atma is lending itself to. Without creating any material change in the object. If the Atma itself had attributes,
The
gunas,
sense objects, right? If it's
mm,
meaning by.
yeah,
Okay.
its joining with a thought would result in a mixture, a compound. If Atma itself had gunas, like for instance, I think the example given was um, the blueness. If there's a red flower, so the red flower there is a red flower. So that redness is the attribute of the flower. But what is this Atma lending itself to? That isness.
Yeah. Redness. Red color.
The redness is its color. So Atma is not distorting the flower. It is not adding to the, it is not creating a mixture. It is not changing the object. You're
Mm.
only saying the flower is, or the red flower is. That isness is what the Atma is. It lends its existence to the object without creating a material change in the object. If the Atma itself had attributes, its joining with a thought would result in a mixture, a compound. A desire would therefore not be a discrete desire. It would be colored by Atma, which is not the case. Atma itself, not having any attributes, lends its existence, sat, and consciousness, chit, to anything obtaining in the mind. Therefore, Atma is said to be free from want, kama.
So it lends its existence and consciousness to anything obtaining in the mind. So any object, right? So that, like you
For
said, the
example,
eastness,
yeah.
Satchit.
So who is saying I want?
Consciousness is meaning like more like knowledge, right? Like knowledge about the flower that there is red.
Yeah. Consciousness
Consciousness.
is that knowledge principle.
Knowledge, yeah.
Who knows that awareness that I want this. So who is saying I want it? That the recognition of that that is where Atma is lending itself to, the Sat and the Chit.
Mm.
So in deep sleep, for example, you do not have any desires. Because everything else is sleeping there. The mind, the senses, intellect, everything is asleep. So we'll come to that. The body, mind, and senses also do not have wants as such, but the wants involve all these locations. So there is something, what is that? That I, which is covered by this delusion, that thinks that it is limited, it is um, kinchidnyaha, alpagnaha, that attaches itself to all of this, the body, mind, senses. And that is where karma, these are the locations of the karma. Whereas karma is not located in the small I is where it is, the whole, the whole pattern thing comes from the identification of the small I, which itself exists because of the big I. The body, mind, and senses also do not have wants as such, but the wants involve all these locations. Almost all the karmas, the wants are with reference to sense objects. So, is there any karma which is not with reference to sense object? Because here, almost all the karmas are with reference to sense objects. And without the senses, these objects are not known and therefore do not become objects of desire. So, if your senses are not working, you do not, like in deep sleep, they are not known. There may be an array of delicious dishes kept on the table, but if one is deep slumber, how does he even get the desire? So they don't even become an object of desire unless the senses are functioning. Naturally, then, the senses become the basis, adhishtana, for the desires to arise in the mind. Therefore, the senses are said to be the adhishtana of kama. Through the senses, desires can also be fulfilled. Without the mind, so this we understood, right? How the senses are the adhishtana for kama. But will the senses by themselves, are they responsible for the karma to arise? Atma lends itself. Without the Atma, desire cannot happen. So that is why, without bringing any material change in the object, the Atma joins everything. Atma itself, not having any attributes, lends its existence, Sat and Chit, consciousness, to anything obtaining in the mind. Therefore, Atma is said to be free from want. So, Atma, Kama is not in the Atma, but Atma is there in every Kama. So, let's park this idea here. Now, we'll go to how the mind, without the mind, Manas, there is no want. Thus, mind is also the location. Isn't it? Otherwise, the senses are only like reporting things. It is the mind that perceives what the senses report. The manas is the one that creates the fancies that are the beginning of karma. Because the decision with reference to the fulfillment of a want takes place in the buddhi, the intellect, the buddhi too, is said to be the adhisthana. So once you decide to act, the decisive factor is the buddhi. So creating the fancies, that happens in the mind. Senses being the reporters. So you have the senses, manas and buddhi as the adhisthana. Thus, with reference to karma, the manas, the buddhi, and the senses are places of operation, as it were. When one's karma is very powerful, it robs away the person's very wisdom, jnana. It deludes the person. In terms of earlier acquired wisdom, the person is as though blindfolded by his or her desire and is taken for a ride. This ride can be a very long one also, because when you wake up, you find yourself elsewhere with all the damage already done. This is karma. So one's whole life can be spent getting blindfolded by karma. Refer to that 62, 63 verses of chapter 2. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa.
So scary, my God. The way, he's put whole life you have to pay the price.
Yeah. Sangasteshu pajayate. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Kamat krodho vijayate. Krodad bhavati sammohaha. Sammoha smriti vibhramaha. Smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha. Buddhinashat pranashyati. Huh?
Prashyate.
Pranashyati. Yeah, pranashyati. So how do we remove the delusion? What can you do about this delusion of desire with regard to your mind, buddhi, and senses, the places where the karma operates? Be careful. Tayoho vashyam na agachet. Don't come under their influence. Exercise your capacity to curtail or stop the senses whenever you want something that does not benefit you. Any sense pursuit can be stopped just short of overt expression, as in eating, for example. One can always say enough, even when from inside the desire keeps saying, come on, have a little more. To stop a sense pursuit at the level of the senses is called Dhamma. So now we understand the importance of Dhamma, right? We have seen that who that one has no control over the wants that arise in one's head because of one's nature. Prakriter guna So it's from Prakriti that you get the thoughts. Thought, karma is nothing but a thought. So you have no control over that. You cannot say, I want to avoid this want, because you cannot avoid it. Your desires do not need to be controlled, in fact. Your Prakriti, your nature, is your entire past, the remote past and the immediate past, all of which can give rise to a certain type of thinking and certain wants. Your likes and dislikes just happen. You cannot do anything about them. What you can do, however, is to keep a distance, a certain distance between yourself and your likes and dislikes. In other words, you need not deliver yourself to them. This is what is called Shama. So beautifully explained, no? Giving that gap. Having that gap is Shama. Having a say over your mind. And having a say over your senses is Dhamma. Thus, there are two disciplines, Dhamma and Shama, with reference to karma. Although you need not worry about what you think, what you desire, it is also not to your advantage to do whatever you want based on your desires alone. Therefore, do not fall prey to your simple fancies and wants. Always look into yourself and see what is proper. Is it feasible, necessary, and useful to fulfill a particular desire? Is it proper? There may not be anything wrong with the desire. It may be quite legitimate, but not at all necessary. Or or it may be feasible to fulfill the desire. You may be able to buy something that you want, but you do not need it. Therefore, why buy it? It may be useful, but is it necessary to have this particular object? Instead of simply buying it, consider first how useful it is in terms of your priorities. We'll repeat all of this again. Yeah, I'll just read this next para. Having weighed all the factors, you can then go with the desire or not go with it. This deliberation is Shama. And if, having gone along with the desire, you find that you want more and more, you then say, no, thus far and no further. This is where you require Dhamma, which can be practiced daily whenever you feel like having another helping of food. Only when you practice Shama and Dhamma can you manage your wants. Otherwise, they will manage you and make a mess of your life. Therefore, taking the various factors into account, go with your desires, but do not let them make your decisions for you. To manage your desires in this way, you need to be very alert, as Krishna points out in the next verse. So I know we've come to the end. We will repeat all of this whole stanza tomorrow, and then go on to the next. So, summing up the whole thing, karma, how to tackle karma, because it is located in three different locations, adhishtana, in the senses, mind, and in the intellect. So you have these two tools, Shama and Dhamma. Dhamma is having a say on your senses. Shama is having that discretion, creating that gap between your desire and your acting upon it. And Swamiji has very nicely explained. We'll read all of this tomorrow. Anyone wants to share anything? Few sentences before we close. Whereas Atma is free from desire. Indriyani mano buddhihi asyadhishtana muchyate etair vimohayat yesha jnanamavritya dehinam. It deludes the person by covering his or her wisdom. It is located in the senses, mind, and intellect. So we'll stop here. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. So today, as an exercise, we'll watch our mind, watch how desires crop up, how our senses, mind, and intellect are functioning. We look at ourselves, introspect within, and see the patterns of our desires. So once you understand the pattern, you're able to handle and tackle it.